What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to be looking at all the different data transformation nodes in N8N. So that's going to be the filter node, the code node, the limit node, and everything else that goes along with data transformation. We're going to be looking at how to use them, what their use cases are, different variations of nodes we can use to replace them, and just ways to best implement these in your flows. And if you're new to the channel, all we do is automations, leverage AI to essentially make us more money, via in our own businesses or via through other businesses. By making them more money, naturally, you're going to make yourself more money. And so before we hop into it, if you're new to the channel, please go ahead and make the like button a ham and cheese sandwich. Except for ham and cheese, just put mustard and ketchup. Put it in a doggy bag, send them on their way. So when they open it for lunch and they take their first bite, they are just immediately super, super disappointed. Anyways, let's jump right into it, guys. So we're on the right-hand side. To first get to the data transformation nodes, you're going to go ahead and click Open Panel. Then you're going to go Data Transformation, and then you're going to see this list of a whole bunch of different nodes that lets you manipulate the data in your flow. And we're going to be starting off with the most complex one probably, which is going to be the code node. And I accidentally put JavaScript, but we usually do Python. So I'll put Python. So actually, no, we usually do JavaScript. I can't remember. I have ChatGPT do all the coding because I don't know how to code really. I just know some JSON. So for the code node, their main use case is to replace any kind of node that N8N may not have, as well as there's a lot of times where, not a lot of times, but there is special use cases where N8N just doesn't have the right node infrastructure to be able to do things no code. And so in those use cases, and they're typically very niche, but oftentimes it's a filtering type of system that you can build in with code. And if you need to write that code and you don't know how, guess who is really good at writing it? ChatGPT. OpenAI, Gemini, all the different models are pretty dang good at writing it. And we're not trying to create an entire application here. We're trying to create one blob of code that's going to have a singular job. And when it comes down to that, ChatGPT and the other AIs are really good at it. It may take some, trial and error, right? Especially if you have no familiarity with code. And so you're going to have to test it, but nonetheless, you can definitely use this without knowing any code at all. It might just take a little bit of time to get that right trial and error going. And so that's going to be the first node, the code node. And then we're going to go to date and time. So date and time nodes are going to be helpful for when you're, let's say, booking onto a calendar, or when you need to add a specific date for a specific thing to take place at a later time, or you just want to reference a specific time when an action took place. So you can add a date, extract part of a date, format a date, get current date, get time between dates, round a date, subtract from a date. So all of these are going to have their different use cases, and I don't typically use this one very much. Most of the time when I need a date and time, I'm going to be programming it inside of a ChatGPT module. But if you're not using any ChatGPT and maybe you just need the date and time, and you already have some instance of where you want to, some reference of where you want to start that date and time from, like a, bracket now, $sign now, bracket. Then you can use this to basically get the other half of that date and time. So, you go add to date to add to, we can go $sign now. You get this date, days until, duration, 1, new date. And so we can go ahead and execute this step. New date is 1 day from the now. You can see 7 here, it's 6 here. That's it. Now, there's a lot of different things you can do with that. I'm not going to go too deep into it because the date and time really doesn't have that many use cases. So I want to spend our time on the things that are going to make a bigger difference in your flows, like the edit fields. The edit fields is a normalizer node, meaning that you can basically change the names of different items that you want to map. For instance, let's go ahead and click this guy here. We have date and time, you drag and drop, you get it named as new date. So now we can change the name to my fave date or whatever you want. That way, when you execute the step, and when you execute the step, it's going to return my fave date. And now you can call it as my fave date. And so this is going to be helpful in many different use cases, really. A lot of times you're going to need to normalize the names for downstream calling. It can also help to just aggregate everything into an edit fields node for all the different mapping elements you need that are going to be used downstream. And so you just call from the edit fields, so you don't have a million different nodes to look from. And so it'll help you have a cleaner flow altogether. As well as, and here is a more niche use case. I'm going to go back here, and then I'm going to go to, let's see, it would be this guy, and then it'll be this guy. So one interesting use case that I found out for this guy is a set variant. So I basically am able to call different variants by programming into as a JSON blob to index each different person that comes through my flow. So first person is going to be indexed as A, second is B, third is C, fourth is D, and then it restarts. And so that is also a use case you can use for the set node. And there's a little skip there. Excuse me, my dog was barking. I had to go tell him to be quiet. And so we use those variants to say, okay, A path goes here. Sorry, the little bug in front of my face. B path goes here, C path goes here, D path goes here. So you can use it in combination with something like a switch node or any number of different nodes. Like you can even use it in combination with if nodes to help with filtering and routing. So let's go back. Should be my flow 16. That's the edit fields node. Super, super helpful. Million different use cases. A lot of times you might even want to go include other input fields if you want to include everything else that's plugged into the edit fields node and call it downstream. And now next on the data transformation table is filter. Filter we went over in another video, but I'll just cover it super quick. But we did go over it in the flow control video. Some of these you'll notice overlap in flow and data transformation. So filter node, all it does is you put X value in here. If it's equal to X, it passes through. If it's not equal to X, it gets stopped. That one's simple. It's super simple. If you want more information about that, watch the other video. Limit node is going to be really pretty helpful, actually. So it's going to limit there's going to be a couple of use cases for limit node. One is, and I can actually just pull up some examples here. Save changes. No. Let's go to this one. One is, let's go here. So for this one, we're batching a whole bunch of different leads. And the problem with batching a whole bunch of different leads using Google Sheets is rate limited. And so, we'll batch 50, 100, whatever it is at a time, it'll go. And this is very quick flow. So it goes. And it's still pushing 50 items through here, right? Before a limit node is included. So it's still doing 50 and it's just overwhelming the Google Sheets. And so what you want to do is you include the rate limit node, you max items to 1. So it's got 50 items here. And then it's got 1 item here. And then paired with the weight, it makes it extremely unlikely that this Google Sheets is going to get rate limited. And so it really helps with any kind of node that may be rate limited by limiting the amount of information that is going to that one node, especially if you don't need that information to be included downstream, right? If you're finishing a loop, something like this. And then the next one is going to be, let's go back to here again, and let's go here. Next use case is going to be right here. So on this one, we basically want to limit the number of websites. So it's pushing websites through. We're scraping every page on a specific website, but every page is a lot. And so let's just say we've already done our filtering to make sure we're getting good pages. So we really only want to limit the good pages to, sorry, again, there's a cat outside of our door and the dog was just going bonkers. I mean, he loves cats, so don't. Don't think my dog doesn't love cats. He loves cats, but he gets very excited and he likes to bark at them. So anyways, where I left off with all this skipping around in this video, excuse me there, guys, is, we want to max out that number of pages we get from the website to 5. So that way we're not requesting 100 different web pages, and we're not putting, 100 different web pages into this summarized page one and just overwhelming and costing a whole bunch with ChatGPT and all those things. So limit node also pretty decently helpful. Now, next on the data transformation, remove duplicates. I want to say this was also in the flow, but I can't remember. Remove duplicates, I actually don't use it a ton. But when I do, I typically only use it within the current input, because when I do it with items processed in previous executions, I find that it sometimes errors. And it's more likely to, let's say, if you get a bunch of duplicates, just to stop your flow altogether. And so I only use it in singular runs. So every one run that it does, it's going to remove the duplicates in that one run, and it's not going to have memory, so it gets all stopped up and confused. It's better to use some sort of duplicate removal process, like a deduper flow, or just deduping your sheets or whatever it is through their native tool inside the toolbar, like in Google and inside of Google Sheets. Because when you do the one with history, it can get kind of messed up, especially if you're using large data sets. But it does just match all the different items that you've put through. If there are duplicate items, it does remove those. So downstream, you only keep singular items. So it does have some use cases. But a lot of times I find it can be much more useful to remove duplicates after the fact. Or if you're pushing into some sort of program, a lot of times you can program it in to remove the duplicates, or just not include duplicates that are already in that program, like in Instantly. So remove duplicates, split out. Split out node is going to turn arrays into singular items. And so if we have an array of items, and let's just do this here. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this should work. Oh, well, that's annoying. I just played around with it in the background for a sec. You can't hard code in an array, I guess. I've never tried to. I've only put it in from specific flows. So that's kind of annoying. But I can give you guys an example of this really quick, because I do have a flow here that uses this. Let's go for hiring system template, lead batching, and see I have a split out node right here. So let's just run this and watch it split it out. So here we can see that we get this array, right? These arrays of people all built into an array. And then we go here, it's able to split that array because it's one item, and it turns that one item into 5 items, so that each of those 5 items can get processed individually in the next node here in the enrich. So essentially it's turning blobs into individual items. And so that one is basically necessary and imperative in a lot of flows where, you need to process the information one by one, opposed to being able to do a blob at a time. Especially if you want to do batches, it is imperative, like I said. And then aggregate is the exact opposite. So it turns this batch of items into a singular item. And I'll show you another use case in the exact same flow. So let's see, where were we? Right here. We were here. So I made a video about this one too. You guys can check it out, so you can watch it happen step by step. And, essentially I walk through what each of these does. I don't build it with us, because it's a very simple one. I can just tell you what to do, and you just kind of do it step by step. But it splits out. So it's 5 items, goes 5, 5, 5. But then this guy right here, if you keep doing 5, the way this is built, it'll add 5 page numbers to this document, but we want one addition to the document. We don't want 5, we want 1. And so we aggregate that data, so it's only now 1 item. And so now as 1 item, we get that 1 added instead of 5. And so oftentimes, if you need to reconsolidate your data, because downstream, you don't need 5 items, you need 1, you use the aggregate to reconsolidate that data. Or really anytime you need 1 item instead of a whole bunch of 5, so you don't have a ton of different items being appended to whatever data system or Google Sheets, whatever you have built in. And then the merge node, we went over this one in the other flow as well. The merge node is going to be helpful for calling information downstream. What I mean by that is oftentimes we run into an issue where if you have, let's say, a ChatGPT node, or sometimes other nodes do this as well, it'll stop all the rest of information upstream. And for you guys' information, upstream is anything that comes before the specific node you're on. Downstream is anything that comes after the specific node you're on. So when you're trying to call information that's upstream, sometimes it gets stopped out by specific nodes and you have to merge in the node previous to the node that you, that's stopping the information from being flown. So you flow through? That just doesn't sound right. Either way, you need this node to be able to continue to call your upstream information downstream. Otherwise, you won't be able to access it and you'll get that red brackets around your JSON. Your JSON will be red because it says, hey, I don't see where this information exists, because it gets stopped before it's able to get to that node that you're trying to work with. Again, I'll give you a quick example of this. I'll show, I think this one should have it. Yep, right here. So right here, if it just goes to the message model will stop all this upstream information. But we need to call specifically stuff from this one all the way down here. And so what's happening is it stops here. So we need to merge it back in so we can still call it from the merge node, as well as the merge node can help by being a source for information downstream. So instead of having to call it from this guy, you can call from a little bit of a sooner node. And it's just kind of helpful because the deeper you go back in your calls, the more likely you are to get an error and for some sort of problem to happen with you calling the information from one of your upstream nodes. So merge node can be super helpful for that as well. And I'm sure, if anyone's counting, I don't know how many times I can say super helpful in one video, but we're going for a record here. Okay, where did we stop? Summarize, cool. Summarize is one that I just started using. I didn't really understand its benefit at first, but now I do. So the summarize node has a bunch of different functions in it. And most of the time it's going to be working with numbers. And so if you have a bunch of numbers that you want to sum together and see what their number is together, well, you want to see the largest number in the data set, the smallest number in the data set, a unique count, a count altogether. Constant can, I don't know what that one means. Let me figure out what that one means. 1 second. I guess it just means combining things. So if you want to combine things like first name Jake, last name parent, you concatenate. If anyone knows how to pronounce that freaking word, let me know, because I don't know if I've ever seen it. And I like to think I have a decent vocabulary. Average, kind of obvious. You get the average of the numbers you include here. Append, you're just appending a number to the list. Count is what I typically use when I'm using the summarize node. And let's look at another example here. Should be in this guy. So it should be lead batching. For this one, we are counting the number of pages. So it does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It says, oh, you have 5 pages here. My output is 5. So I can call that number 5 in this node, opposed to, I don't know how it, I used to have to do with code nodes, and I would build in code nodes to do indexing, which is way more complicated and way more likely to break. After I learned this, I just used the summarize node, and I just summarize the page we're on, because I'm able to count the numbers in a specific Google Sheet. And then I just put that in here. And so that one, like I said, I'm going for the record. Super helpful, way underutilized. I never see anyone utilize it. I think people just read summarize and they just don't even consider what you can do with the summarize node. And it's actually quite a bit. Compression. So this one is also pretty self-explanatory. If you have a large file and you want to send it somewhere, maybe in an email, you probably are going to need to compress that file. And so you can send it via email. You can also decompress. I can't imagine there's as many use cases for that. Maybe with your receiving inbound zip files, you can decompress one of those into its standard file format. But I see less use cases for the decompress. And then convert file. So the convert file is cool. It could save you money, which is awesome. So if you're familiar with Make or Zapier or things like that, they don't have anything that does this right here. And it basically can convert some sort of file into, assuming that you're receiving reliable binary. It usually converts binary. Assuming you're receiving reliable binary, you can convert that into any of these kind of files. So a lot of times it's convert to JSON, convert to text are the big ones. Move base64 to string file can be helpful for images. Convert to CSV. For some reason, you have a binary of, a Google Excel document or Google Sheets, and then convert to HTML if you need to create something into an email or web page potentially. But most of the time, it's going to be JSON or text files that you're going to be converting from binary. But it can save you money because there's services that do this. But N8N, the goat that it is, has just a built-in node. And so there's like, hey, you don't have to pay that 10, 20, 30, 50 bucks a month to use this service. We got you guys. We got you for free. Cryptographic utility. All this does is encrypts data. I've never used it. I imagine it would be very important if you're dealing with some sort of large enterprise corporation or some sort of very secure operation where you need to make sure that the data is encrypted so that if there is some sort of security breach, that they're not able to just immediately access that sensitive data. Like I said, I've never used this one. I've never had to use it. I imagine if I was ever so fortunate to get in touch with a large enterprise corporation, that I would learn it and I would figure out how to incorporate it into a flow to make it more secure. Edit images has its use cases. A lot of people use AI instead of the edit image nodes, but it can have its use cases, especially for some of these more simplistic uses like cropping, blurring borders, resize, rotate, shear, apply text. So you can definitely use this to, like, let's say, make some sort of post for Instagram or something, and you just wanted to do some reliable and consistent edits to that image. Because when you use an AI, you're obviously going to add some sort of risk that it's not going to be the output that you're looking for. And so this is going to be guaranteed that you are going to get the output that you desire with the specified options we have here. So obviously it can't do everything. It's fairly limited, and it can't get as fancy as some of the other ones. But if you use it right, it can definitely help streamline some of your flows. Data transformation back here. And then extract. So extract is going to be similar to convert. It's just the opposite of it. So you're just extracting the binary instead of converting it. And so if you need to turn something into binary to potentially let it go through the flow, like oftentimes images won't go through the flow. And so you actually need to extract the information first. You kind of will have to use this as a mid-step between what you're doing. And then I'll just go bum, 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 bum. I don't know, PDF. I do use this to extract information from a PDF in one of them, and then I convert it back. So again, one of those things that can save you money because there's services that do this, and it just allows you to circumvent those services and not have to pay them. The HTML node here We're getting into a lot of similar stuff here, but it lets you extract information from HTML or generate an HTML template. So this can be super useful specifically for emails or anytime you need to use HTML opposed to plain text or JSON. But oftentimes it's going to be emails and websites is what you use it for. You extract that HTML from the emails and websites, and then you can use that data, let's say, with your AI nodes. Otherwise, a lot of times downstream, your nodes aren't going to know what to do with the data that they've been given before it's extracted. And now we're getting to the end of this here, and we're going to go to the Markdown. Markdown is going to be used in conjunction with the HTML node a lot, where you go from Markdown to HTML or HTML to Markdown. Again, it just takes it a step further to make it easier to read from the AI. Like a lot of times, if you're getting HTML, a lot of times you'll want to actually chain this with the Markdown. So let's say you're getting a website, you take that HTML. You then convert that HTML to Markdown, and then you feed that Markdown into the AI so it's easier for the AI to understand. And now let's keep going here. XML. So this is going to be the third to last one we're going to go. The use cases of this one are very, very niche, very niche. But essentially some APIs is the main use case you're going to have for. Some APIs still work on XML instead of JSON, even though the vast majority work on JSON now. You may need to switch from JSON to XML so that your API can interpret what you want it to do. And last but not least, we have these last two. I'm going to go through them both at the same time because they're going to take 2 seconds to explain because I feel that they were pretty much self-explanatory. Rename key is extremely similar to this guy, the set node or the edit fields node. The thing is, it's just less useful. So you don't really need it most of the time, but you're basically just going to say, hey, I have this one key XPA and I want the new key name to be XPI. So it can be used for normalizing data, but most of the time, because I don't have, okay, whatever, because it's not linked to specific mapped items, so we're not getting an output. I've never used this one because I just use the set node because it's just more useful, more use cases, and it does, to my understanding, everything that the rename keys node does and more. And then the sort node, same thing, right, guys? It's going to be able to sort by the parameters that you define. And so you can go fields to sort, ascending, descending. You can disable dot notation. And so this is just going to be able to basically sort your information if you need it structured in a certain way. Maybe, like the highest first, lowest first, alphabetical order. You may need to implement some information prior to that to make sure that you're sorting it the right way, like potentially using the edit fields node to label each of them with a numeric or alphabetic number or letter so that you can use this sort node to say, okay, based on this numeric or alphabetic number or a letter, I want them to be organized in a specific way. And you can chain it as well to be like, okay, first priority, second priority, third priority. And let's see, I think that was it, guys. So in all, that is all of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That is all 20 of the data transformation nodes. I hope you guys found this super helpful. If not, let me know so I can be better. If you did find it helpful, go check out some of my other videos or comment below of what you want to see next. Either way, if you want to see more videos like this and you want to, basically come with me as I progress, as I learn, as I bring you guys new ideas, new information, subscribe, and you'll get all of that. And with that, thanks for watching, guys, if you've made it to the end, and cheers. Have a good one.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.